What if the ground beneath your feet was not as solid as you believed? Imagine a morning that begins like any other. The familiar scent of winter rain. The quiet hum of a neighborhood waking up. But then, the water starts to rise, not with the typical muddy churn of a flood, but with a strange metallic sheen that glimmers unnaturally under the gray sky. This isn't just weather. It is a moment where the natural world seems to step out of its assigned place, leaving behind a silence that feels heavy with unanswered questions. As a small thank you for joining us today, we offer a moment of shared blessing. Comment with the word faith if you are open to receiving a special final thought dedicated to everyone participating. And please press like if you appreciate these moments. Stay with us, because as our story unfolds, we will uncover perspective on these unfolding events that might truly surprise you. What we are witnessing across the American heartland is no longer a series of isolated incidents, but a sophisticated chain of phenomena casting a shadow over nearly the entire country, from the Midwest to the Rockies. Over 180 million people now find themselves within an impact zone that defies simple explanation. In the regions accustomed to seasonal flooding, the water behaved like a stranger. Livestock refused to drink it. Fish surfaced motionless along submerged fences. When the waters finally receded, they left the vegetation scorched and burned, as if the liquid itself carried a hidden fire. For those standing in the mud, the unease didn't come from the drama of the sight, but from how different it felt. It stirred an old memory for many, not one drawn from a science textbook, but one echoed in the sacred pages of the Douay-Rheims Bible. In the book of Exodus, we are reminded of a time when the very lifeblood of a nation turned hostile, and the fish that were in the river died, and the river corrupted, and the Egyptians could not drink the water of the river. Exodus 7 verse 21. While no one is claiming a direct fulfillment of ancient prophecy, the parallel lingers like a whisper in the wind. Water, the source of all life, suddenly behaving in a way that brings distress instead of sustenance, is never a meaningless detail in the eyes of the faithful. As the storm stalled overhead, the mystery deepened. People began to feel a low, persistent rumble, not the sharp jolt of an earthquake that triggers alarms, but vibrations so subtle it kept families awake at night, listening to the absence of answers. In the blackouts that followed, residents stepped onto their porches, trying to feel the foundations of their homes were truly shifting. They were looking for a sign, a notification, or a voice of authority, but all they found was a growing awareness that the world was tilting towards something bigger. But even as the sky grew dark and the systems we trust began to falter, something even more unexpected was rising from the depths. The sky had already delivered its warning, but soon the earth itself began to respond. In places where the ground had remained firm for generations, a sudden and quiet betrayal began to unfold. Sinkholes, those gaping maws of the earth, opened without the courtesy of a warning. There were no visible cracks in the pavement beforehand, no slow sagging of the soil to alert the unsuspecting families nearby. Instead, the very foundations of American homes, the symbols of our hard-earned stability, began to slip into the unknown. This shifting was accompanied by a sound that many will never forget, a long, low rumble vibrating beneath the floorboards. It wasn't the roar of a storm or the crack of thunder, but a persistent, rhythmic thrumming that felt almost like the planet was breathing in the darkness of Midwestern night. People lay still in their beds, their hearts racing in sync with the floor beneath them. They checked their phones, refreshing news feeds for an explanation that never arrived. The silence from the authorities was perhaps more unsettling than the tremors themselves. When we lose our sense of control over the physical world, we are often forced to look toward the spiritual. We are reminded of the words in the book of Job. Where wast thou when I laid up the foundations of the earth? Tell me if thou hast understanding. Job 38 verse 4, Douay-Rheims. This ancient question serves as a powerful reminder that there are forces at work far beyond human technology or scientific measurement. When the structures we built to guide us begin to falter, it is an invitation to consider what we have truly placed our trust in. The unease spread block by block as the lights began to fail. This wasn't a total blackout, but an uneven, flickering descent into shadow. One house will remain brightly lit, a lonely island of normalcy, while the next was swallowed by a darkness so thick it felt tangible. Traffic signals went dark and security lights, those modern sentinels of safety, shut off one by one. The ordinary markers of our civilization were disappearing, leaving neighborhoods wrapped in stillness that felt both heavy and expectant. As communication lines weakened and cell signals vanished into static, families gathered in their kitchens, lit only by candlelight. They weren't just waiting for the power to return. They were waiting for a sense of direction. In this forced isolation, the questions became deeper. Why now? Why all at once? The ground, the water, and the very air seemed to be speaking a language we had forgotten how to translate. But as the world grew quiet, a different kind of movement was beginning to stir in the most unlikely of places, deep beneath the ocean waves. As the ground continued its subtle shift, a different kind of revelation began to emerge in the vast, hidden reaches of the sea. Along the Gulf Coast, a boundary once thought to be impenetrable started to dissolve. Deep-sea creatures, wonders of the natural world that are rarely seen by human eyes, began to appear in the shallow waters near the shore. These were species adapted to the crushing pressures and eternal darkness of the abyss, yet they were surfacing alive and seemingly unharmed. Witnesses described these encounters with a sense of hushed reverence. One Marine volunteer in Louisiana recalled finding a creature resting near the waterline, moving with a fluid grace that fell out of place in the bright light of day. There were no marks of trauma on these animals, no signs that they were fleeing predators or pollution. It was as if something fundamental beneath the ocean floor had shifted, quietly displacing them from their ancient homes and nudging them toward the world of man. In the Holy Scriptures, the sea has always represented the great unknown, a place of mystery that only the Creator fully masters. We find a striking parallel in the book of the prophet Amos. And though they hide themselves in the top of Carmel, I will search and take them out from thence. And though they be hid from my eyes in the depth of the sea, then shall I command the serpent, and he shall bite them. Amos 9 verse 3 Douay Rheims. This passage reminds us that nothing remains concealed forever. The depths eventually surrender what they hold when the time for revealing arrives. The appearance of these creatures wasn't an isolated event, but a cluster of sightings that left scientists and the faithful alike searching for meaning. While experts pointed to shifting currents or underwater seismic movements, many felt a deeper spiritual resonance. If the sea is releasing what it once concealed, we must ask ourselves, what else is preparing to surface? In a divine order, revelation often precedes a great reckoning, serving as a gentle call to pay attention before the tides truly turn. The mystery was not confined to the waters alone. Far to the north, in the ancient forests of the Pacific Northwest, a different kind of silence was falling. Stand of old-growth trees, sentinels that had endured for centuries, were suddenly failing. Without the charred breath of fire or the slow rot disease, these giants simply let go of life, their needles browning in a matter of days. It was a reminder that even the most resilient foundations of our world are subject to a timing we do not yet fully understand. As these signs multiply from the depths of the ocean to the peaks of the mountains, they point toward a singular, growing truth. The world is speaking, and the message is becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The signs appearing in the heights of the forest and the depths of the sea have now converged upon the very soil where we build our lives. Across the states of Pennsylvania and Kentucky, the earth is failing in a way that defies conventional logic. Massive sinkholes and sudden landslides are claiming residential roads and cracking the foundations of family homes. Yet there are no hurricanes or earthquakes to blame. This collapse is arriving quietly, as if the strength of the earth has simply been hollowed out from within. If this message resonates deep within you, and you feel moved to affirm your faith right now, simply type Amen in the comments below. This quiet erosion of our physical world serves as a profound spiritual mirror. We are reminded of the warnings in the book of Isaiah, which describes a sudden ruin. And this iniquity shall be to you as a breach that falleth, and is found wanting in a high wall, for the destruction thereof shall come on a sudden, when it is not looked for. Isaiah 30:13 Douay Rheims. Much like those ancient walls, the The surface of our modern world appears intact until the hidden weakness gives way all at once, exposing the fragility of everything we have built. The unease is growing because these events are no longer isolated. They are happening together, a shared sense of instability that is touching every corner of the nation. In the high deserts of New Mexico, a different kind of disturbance has taken hold. A silence so heavy it feels physical. Residents report moments where the wind stops, the insects vanish, and the very land seems to shut its mouth in a state of unnatural anticipation. It is as if creation itself is holding its breath, pausing before a movement yet to be revealed. These moments of absolute stillness are rarely described in Scripture as emptiness, but rather as a sacred preparation for divine action. We are invited to consider the words of the prophet Habakkuk. But the Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth keep silence before him. Habakkuk 2:20 Douay Rheims. In this silence, we are forced to confront the truth that our control is an illusion, and that we must listen for a voice that speaks when the world goes quiet. But even as the land falls silent, the sky above has begun to offer its own mysterious testimony. In the heart of the country, a light has appeared that has left even the most skeptical observers in awe. While the earth beneath us continues to shift, the heavens have begun to display wonders that capture the attention of all who look upward. In the high desert of eastern Colorado, witnesses recently gathered to watch a phenomenon that felt both intentional and profoundly calm. Just after sunset, a cross-shaped light manifested in the sky. Clear, steady, and completely silent. There were no storms, no thunder, and no aircraft to explain its presence. It simply lingered, a radiant symbol suspended against the darkening horizon. One local resident described the moment not as a cause for panic, but as a moment of stillness that carried immense weight. This stillness is a hallmark of divine communication, a pause in the routine of life that invites us to look deeper than the surface. We are reminded of the principle found in the book of Isaiah. Therefore the Lord himself shall give you a sign. Isaiah 7:14 Douay Rheims. These signs are not meant to terrify, but to offer a moment of reflection before the world continues its frantic pace. This celestial cross is just one of many occurrences that seem to blur the boundary between the natural and the unseen. Along the Pacific shoreline, fishermen witnessed a vast ring of pale blue-white fire, a perfect circle spanning hundreds of meters, suspended silently above the water. For 4 minutes, the sea beneath it rotated in a wide whirlpool without wind or swell to drive it, as if the ocean itself were inhaling and exhaling in a rhythmic pulse. Radar registered nothing, yet the eyes of those present saw a symmetry that felt almost sentient. These events echo the words of the Gospel of Luke. And there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars, and upon the earth the distress of nations, by reason of the confusion of the roaring of the sea and the waves. Luke 21 verse 25 Douay Rheims. When the light in the sky refuses to scatter and the water behaves according to a different law, we are witnessing a thinning of the veil. Perhaps the most unsettling celestial event occurred when the natural night itself began to disappear. For nearly 72 consecutive hours in several regions, darkness never fully arrived. The sky remained in a state of artificial, lifeless illumination, casting a dim glow that erased the normal rhythm of time. This loss of darkness, the natural space where the body and mind are meant to reset, left many with a sense of disorientation and deep-seated anxiety. It serves as a stark reminder that even the most fundamental cycles of our world are delicate and subject to a higher authority. As these lights continue to manifest, they lead us back to places where we seek sanctuary, revealing that even within our walls, we are being called to wakefulness. While the world outside grapples with shifting tides and glowing skies, the most profound revelations are often found in the places where we seek peace. In a small church in the American Midwest, a group gathered for late-night prayer witnessed something that defied every law of nature. Within the silent sanctuary, a radiant, human-shaped figure manifested, standing nearly 7 feet tall and bathed in a steady, golden white light. It did not flicker or fade like mere reflection. It stood with quiet intensity that seemed to impose a supernatural calm over the room. To join our community and never miss an inspiring story, consider clicking like and subscribing to the channel. The camera captured the silhouette of light, Yet those present did not see it with their physical eyes. Instead, they felt it. The pastor described a peace so profound it stopped his prayer mid-sentence, a warmth that suggested the spiritual realm is far nearer and more active than we dare to imagine. This event mirrors the ancient descriptions found in the book of Daniel, where a heavenly being is seen with a face like lightning and eyes like burning lamps. It is a reminder that in times of great shaking, wonders are often revealed to those who are watching. Yet, this spiritual awakening arrives at a time of deep internal fracture. Across our nation, the bonds that once held us together are thinning. Disputes that once ended in conversation have hardened into a heavy, divisive silence. Neighbors avoid one another, and families find themselves separated by ideological lines that feel increasingly permanent. This is not just a political or social struggle. It is a moral unraveling. When a society loses its agreement on basic values, the foundation beneath it begins to fail long before the collapse becomes visible to the eye. We are reminded of the sobering words in the book of Isaiah. And the earth is infected by the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, they have changed the ordinance, they have broken the everlasting covenant. Isaiah 24:5, Douay Rheims. This everlasting covenant is a shared responsibility we have toward one another and toward our Creator. When that trust is broken, the resulting fracture is more dangerous than any storm or sinkhole. As we witness the ground failing, the sea releasing its secrets, and the sanctuaries filling with light, we must realize these are not random accidents of chance. They are a call to move beyond the shadows of distraction and confront the truth of our condition. The world is tilting toward a moment of profound change, and the question is no longer when it will happen, but if we are prepared to face what is being revealed.